Welcome back, everybody, to Hardball Talks. And this will be the first episode of 2025. And to kick off the new year of Hardball Talks, I have guest Jess Schmittling, who is the director of softball for Extreme. And we wanted to spend some time and talk about 2024 year in review of Extreme Baseball and Softball Clubs. So, Jess, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Excited to be here.
All right. And we're going to just dive into the kind of an infographic that Extreme put out and highlighted some of the things that happened in the 25th year of the Extreme, which was 2024. Extreme was founded in 1999. So entering the 25th year, just a cool opportunity to share highlights, numbers, things that happened during that 25th year. And we thought, you and I thought it would be good to maybe deep dive some of those things. So first off, I guess I'll just even ask you, you haven't been a part of the Extreme for 25 years, but you have family ties into the Extreme for a very long time. And then, of course, being one of the directors and leaders for a long time now. When you think of 25 years of a club, what comes to mind for you?
I mean, it's incredible that it's been going on for 25 years. I think, like you said, it was, I had some family ties early in. My older sister played for Extreme, probably back earlier than she'd like me to admit. But yeah, it was, even growing up, being able to see how it grew was just really cool. And then now over the last probably 7 or so years, being a part of it as a coach and then now as a director, I think just the fact that we have so many people that are passionate about this mission and have kind of watched it develop and grow. And 25 years doesn't happen without people driving the bus with a mission that they're passionate about. So we'll be around as long as that continues to be true.
Yeah, I was recently on a podcast where someone asked, 25 years, how do you think that happened? And all I could really come back to was just like you said, was that we just have a very strong mission. And, even in the beginning, the mission was a little bit different, but it was strong. And like you said, I had people that really believed in it and drove it. And now saying, the mission is very strong and people believe in it and drive it. And you have to have a very strong why to work through the ups and downs of 25 years of anything. So pretty incredible on that infographic, there was a picture there from one of our early teams, and many of those have their own kids now or their own families or their own, they coach teams or whatever it may be. And so it's pretty special to think about that we've went through different generations, and we now have people that show up in the facility who were related to people or somehow were new people that had played in the Extreme a long time ago, and that's pretty neat. Mm-hmm. Couple other things at the top of that graphic that really stood out to me was first off the senior signing ceremony. We celebrated that on, I think it was in February last year. And so just share with everybody, what is the Extreme senior signing ceremony?
Yeah, senior signing ceremony is just a great opportunity for us to bring all of our seniors together. And regardless of it was their first year in Extreme or they've been there since they were 8U, we get to celebrate with them kind of that final year and whatever their plans may be going on into the future. We had some that, were moving on to play at the highest level, and we had some that were choosing an academic route, and we got to celebrate everyone in between and invite families in and just really speak about just the culture that particular class of Extreme brought to the table for that year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, during that ceremony, we have a chance to look at pictures and, videos of the kids from, when they were younger, when they were in the Extreme, when they were at their high school, so forth. We also get to talk a little bit about what it means to be an alumni in the program. So, we want this to be a forever home for our athletes. And that means, having a role when they're an alum, whether that's, when they're in the middle of college ball and they're, needing a place to work out or they're stressed out about, some stuff going on at the college level. We want to be there for them. So we talk a little bit about that during the ceremony. And then, we kind of celebrate that, the closure to that journey. And, we have the families in attendance. So we have a meal together with the families. And, families, it takes such a investment, time, money, energy. It takes such an investment from a family to help an athlete get to that point. And and we want to celebrate that with them as well. So, this year we did it off site this year, which was a first.
Yeah, and I think being able to bring that many people in to an offsite place, but one of the things we have is we have a roadmap in Extreme, and it's kind of this culminating part of the roadmap for people to enter into Alumni Way is kind of the road that we call that. And our hope is that they do have that forever home. They can come back into the facility anytime, or they can lean onto any coaches or staff that have been a part of their journey, outside of our doors. So then hopefully we get them all back as coaches and trainers. That would be a great way to just round everything out for them. But really just knowing that they have a support system that's going to carry them through that Alumni Way on the roadmap.
Mm-hmm. So looking at the year in review image, the next picture that stands out to me is a picture of, the title of it says FCA Family Event. The Fellowship of Christian Athletes in our area is super strong and an organization that really helps a lot of our athletes and coaches. And they had an event in the spring. I think it was also in February or March, somewhere around there. This year they had a St. Louis Cardinal, Tommy Edman. He's no longer a Cardinal. He's now a Dodger, but he was a Cardinal back then. And share with everybody a little bit about that event and how some of our teams utilize the support of that event.
Yeah, that's something that FCA puts on every year. They have a different guest speaker that comes in, and we have a facility full of athletes. So actually, this is the first year. The reason that we wanted to highlight this one was because this was the first year we actually took the night off of training to allow our families and athletes to go to that event, to encourage them to do so, and didn't feel like training was something that was going to be, standing in their way of being able to experience that. So it was really cool to fill the church with kids in extreme gear, or just to have them come in and get poured into a new environment. And some of them had never been there before. So being able to be an advocate for wanting them to be a part of that was a really neat thing that we wanted to highlight for the year in review.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important. I remember Tommy Edman shared on identity and how, sports can't be his identity. And he was actually injured a lot in the off season. So he shared a lot about kind of the difficulty that was being injured and not knowing exactly what his future was going to be. And ultimately he got traded, this year. And so there's, he shared with the athletes about how their identity his identity can't be in that. It's got to be in the Lord. It's got to be in something that's more foundational. So really great message for our athletes. My son's teams were both there. So, you got high school kids, you got junior high kids. I saw also that one of our athletes got to, he won a raffle and he got to do a little video game experience with Tommy Edman. That was Bradley Weber, who's at Greenville University now. And so just a super special evening, matches up with our mission. We're kind of rooted in Proverbs 22:6, which is train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart. And that, FCA has such an integral role in that mission.
Yeah, we had at that event we had two coaches and former alumni that were a part of a video that they showed during that event, as well as a current athlete. So being able to, that was a lot about the identity piece and just influence, and how we never know kind of the drip of influence that we have. So it went from one coach to the next and being able to really see the impact and kind of that ripple effect of again, we never know what our influence is going to be. And so another opportunity for our athletes to see those coaches in a different environment through that video was really cool.
So for everybody listening, Jess and I are just talking a little bit about a recent post that Extreme put out that had a lot of pictures and numbers, and it was titled Year in Review. And we're doing a little review of 2024 in Extreme and some of the highlights throughout the year. Now let's talk about another one that was on the graphic, which is E-Club. And last year, there was over 100 Extreme coaches that attended E-Club. Share what E-Club is, Jess, with everybody.
Yeah, E-Club is something that we do for our coaches. We try to do quarterly events of that, so it's coach development for them, and we have all different areas that we try to pour into those coaches. So, really try to look at the time of year that it is when we host those events and what's kind of the hot topics and what do we feel like we want our coaches to keep developing in. So, we look at things in the first dimension, the physical side of things. We look at the second dimension to pour into our coaches emotionally, and then also that third dimension spiritually. Of course, FCA ties into that, but on the E-Club side of things, we've brought in guest speakers before. We do food and fellowship. We actually hosted another one of those off-site for the first time this year. So in 2024, I think we ended up having a total of 4 of them. So being able to pour into those coaches in a variety of different settings was a really neat experience, something we wanted to highlight.
Yeah, I think something that is special about Extreme is, we want to invest in our coaches, which you and I are. So we get in, we get kind of poured into during those events as well. And, we think that's just as important as pouring into the kids. Coaching's hard, and there's less and less people that want to be a coach. And, so to be on mission and have a purpose and have a reason why you want to coach, it's important that you have mentorship and opportunities to learn as well. And so E-Club and network training are 2 opportunities that we can pour into coaches just as much as we can athletes. And we have cool partners that provide us food. So that's also Cafe Agape, Honey Baked Ham. We get a lot of different partners throughout the community that believe in that event, and because of that, it's something that is kind of special. Our Under Armour and 431, they give us some gear that we can a lot of times share with our coaches during those get-togethers. It's just a kind of a cool opportunity to socialize and learn. Heading into 2000, really the end of this past year, we also did some program days. And I really would love for you. I think your first program day was maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 years ago, and this is something that I think you believed in for multiple reasons, including collaboration and fellowship and and mentorship. But let's just talk, briefly, just talk about what is a program day and why is it something that you felt was important with Extreme Softball?
Yeah. Well, I remember actually at an E-Club, there was a current 14U coach of ours that was talking about why his daughter was in the program. And one of the main reasons was an older athlete who every time she walked in the facility, she said hello to his daughter. She was from an 18U team. And so he just felt like that was the biggest impact that I think she was maybe 11U at the time, 10U at the time. And so being able to hear that story made me feel like I wanted to create that across the program. So whether you were 8U or 18U, we wanted to start this initiative that everybody felt like it was home when they walked in the doors because everybody knew somebody. And even if they didn't, they were going to take the time to say hello and ask about their day. So program day really started from that comment, and it got sparked there of how can we create this forever home. Before we kind of knew that was our tagline, how can we create this home feeling across the program and feel like you get to go through the roadmap together and not feel like it's just 1 year at a time or one team at a time or something like that. So that's where it originated. And basically what it is we bring together all of our teams and we participate in anything from softball, baseball related things to the classroom, pouring into each other. And then we find different ways to just keep building those relationships.
Yep. So what's the basic structure? If you think of what are some of the structures that you've used on program days?
So we've done everything from, we actually centered one around a book. So I went to NFCA a few years ago where they talked about, there's a speaker that spoke on the Wolf Pack book and talking about being able to build a Wolf Pack together and what that meant specifically for female athletes. And so we centered an entire program day just around that book, being able to be poured into in the classroom and spending all day doing that. We did scrimmages that weekend. It's a little bit longer of an itinerary on that one. We had everything going on that weekend. We've done ones where younger teams come and watch our older teams play in events when that's applicable. And We've done stations kind of similar to a camp setup. So there's been lots of different ways that we've done program days, try to keep it fresh and fun and entertaining for the kids, but it all relies on that same premise of building relationships and a unity, a big program feel together.
Yep. And this fall was a first with baseball. Baseball did its first program day, and we thought it was a great time to take kind of the experiences that you've had and the structure that you put in place, and try to create some synergy between our younger teams and our older teams. So we had all the way up, to our 17U program, down to our 8-year program, and we built brother teams. So we had groups of brother teams. So you may have like a young team, a middle school team, and a high school team all together. And that allowed for just super cool mentorship opportunities. When I talked to the coaches after the event, that was probably the number one thing that they took from it was, seeing the older guys really pour into the younger ones. And, that just left an impression, like you said, on the younger ones. And then it also was an opportunity where we got to do some, what I would call kind of like styles or everydays or benchmarks of the program, things that we wanted kids to make sure they knew how to do all the way up and down the program, whether that's from dynamic warm-ups to J-band warm-ups to plyo ball work. We wanted our older guys to help our younger guys right before our network training season is when we did it, and we wanted them to kind of just get the younger kids feeling comfortable in the facility. And for our older guys, it was important for them to kind of see and remember where they used to be, and bring some gratitude back into how far they've come, and what they've had available to them. So they were able to pour back into the younger group, and it was a little nerve-wracking having it to the baseball side. We didn't know how it was going to be received. We didn't know how participation was going to be, but I think we had over 150 or 200 people there, so it was just a really cool event, and the coaches really embraced it. We had a ton of fun, and we did some selfie games where the guys all got to get together afterwards and take some funny pictures, and the little kids thought that was pretty cool. So program day was a real highlight of 24 for all of us.
It's always a fun way to see who can be future coaches.
Yeah, that's true.
The older kids can really interact with the younger ones and kind of have that knack for being able to explain drills. So
yeah, let's highlight another kind of first or another return of an event in 2024, and that was our Adopt a Family program. We've had the Adopt a Family program for probably 10 to 12 years now, but it's looked different after COVID. And when COVID happened, we were no longer really allowed to shop for families and hand off gifts. It became a little bit more of a gift card type of program, which was still awesome and still incredible to support families that way. But this year we went back to the local kind of foster care support system that's in our communities, and we asked if we would be able to get back to physical gifts. We thought that was not only just super meaningful to the families that receive those physical gifts, but also it really is about it shows what it's about for our kids. Being able to have, a lot of times you do gift card stuff, it's just the moms and dads that are doing a lot of the supporting of that. But if you can do gifts, you can get the athletes together to shop, to wrap, to deliver, stuff of that nature. So what stood out to you about our kind of that return of the old school Adopt a Family program?
Yeah, Adopt a Family's kind of been interesting for me personally because I first started coaching in 2017. So I got a couple of years where I was able to do it in person and with other teams, and then became the director right around COVID time. So being able to have to figure out a different way to help and come up with a way that we could still do Adopt a Family, and like you said, kind of go the gift card route and other ways that we might be able to help families in need. and then now to be able to go back to shopping in person, it just it was a heartwarming type of feeling, because again, haven't been able to do that since pre-COVID. So even just being able to see, like, we had done ours, of course, with our sister teams. And so, 8 and 9-year-olds getting together with 16, 17-year-olds running through Walmart, trying to figure out how they're going to shop and stay on a budget and all these things. And it was just a really great team building exercise, while also knowing that, at the core of what we were doing, we were being able to help somebody, those families that were needed over the holidays. So 22 families is incredible that we were able to service this year and really pour into, and also be able to just show kids what it's all about during that time of year.
It's pretty surreal when you're looking at kind of their wish lists. We get those 22 families and all our kids, they kind of put a wish list out, and it's some traditional stuff. You see the young kids want action figures or video games, or some of the traditional kid things, but you also see some very humbling things, pots, pans. One family, had a stove, was listed as kind of their major need during the holidays. And, the Lord kind of blessed that family. One of the families of one of our 13U teams, they wanted to provide that stove to that family. And, so it just gives you a real picture of the need that's out there. And, I think that's who we are at the heart of our organization. We want our kids to pull from sports, much more than just the wins and losses. And, this was in 2024, this was definitely a highlight. Let's talk a little bit about, this fall. The older kids were able to participate in prospect camps. Prospect camps have become kind of a tradition in the fall. On the baseball side, we have been able to get some, college coaches from various sized schools to come to the local area, to the Metro East, and then our athletes and other athletes in the community can work out in front of them. So it's been a highlight of the fall. It's especially, in the ever-changing kind of recruiting world that we live in right now, to be able to get coaches to, really be face-to-face with some of our athletes and talking to them and giving them feedback and telling them what they're looking for. It's made our athletes, know where they need to make, improvements during the off season. And I know softball has been working to embrace kind of that same concept of getting in front of college coaches, being around college athletes and helping them share more with our higher level softball athletes. So maybe you can share on the softball prospect camp.
Yeah, so we our approach is a little bit more of trying to go to particular schools, being able to, whether that's participate in a camp or it's going to the school and being able to do a scrimmage in front of those coaches. We've had a couple different ways that we've done it this fall. We went to McKendree, and that was a great experience for us to scrimmage against some local teams, but actually McKendree's current athletes were the ones in the dugout with us. They were coaching our teams and being able to talk with athletes a little bit about what it takes. So whenever they get into that setting and they are that player, they have a little bit of that firsthand experience being shared with them. So I think for kids right now, it's, recruiting is a tough landscape in general, but being able to really provide them an opportunity to be seen without necessarily having to, map out camps for the next every single weekend. That's expensive and it's hard, and it's you have a lot of the guessing game. So being able to build relationships as the coach on field with those college coaches and being able to have real conversations, and then also athletes being able to have real conversations with their athletes has just been a really positive way to go about the recruiting side of things.
Yep. Let's kind of talk a little bit about recruiting too. Recruiting one-on-ones and recruiting seminars is something that, we did in 2024, and we highlighted on this kind of year in review. What are you seeing with softball? Kind of how is Extreme Elite Softball trying to support families in this recruiting landscape that we're in?
Yeah, the recruiting seminars is a big one. Really trying to make sure that athletes have the answers. Again, recruiting is a tough landscape, and once a kid makes that statement of "I want to play in college," like that's a great baseline to start at. But there's so much more work to be done. And if you're doing it for the very first time, it's your first kid going through recruiting process. It can be so overwhelming, and you just feel like you don't have all the answers. There's so many unknowns. So recruiting seminars that are tailored to kids saying that, building a list, understanding how to look for things within the realm of reality, looking for schools that maybe are on their dream list, looking for schools that we maybe would consider a fallback, and talking about that, talking about metrics that align with those things. And so each recruiting seminar has a different focal point. So for this particular year, we've kind of followed with that initial list, communication to those schools, metrics around that, and then as they work their way through that system, we then start having some one-on-ones or even class group conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, people ask me all the time, what's changed in recruiting and how do we support it? And the number one thing I say is, you've got to be more educated in recruiting than ever before. And that's not just coaches. I mean, that's not just directors. That's families. At the family level, you cannot make blanket statements like we used to in the past. If I'm not good enough to play Division 1, well, then I'll play Division 3. Or if I'm not, if my grades aren't good enough, then I'll go to JUCO. Like, we used to make really simplified blanket statements in the past about recruiting, and that's no longer true. There are junior college programs that you can't get into unless you're a Division 1 caliber athlete. And then, I mean, there's Division 3 schools that have programs that are substantial, guys and girls that are going to, go on to play and be All-Americans and play at the next level. Like, you have to really understand the recruiting landscape, understand what each, kind of level and program is doing. You have to understand the transfer portal and the transfer rules. So, more than ever, kind of us doing one-on-ones with families, us doing seminars, us giving tools to families on how to navigate it or how to be more educated on it. It's more important now than ever before. You can't throw your hands up as a coach or a family and just say, well, if my son or daughter is good enough, it'll work itself out. Yes, I still do believe that there is a fit for everybody. But oh wow, that question of, if you're talking to a junior or senior, you're like, hey, what do you want to do in college? That is a very loaded question anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm fortunate and grateful that we still provide that, that service or that value to families. And I know going into 2025, we're going to have to keep doing it to an even better degree.
Mm-hmm.
So. Let's talk about kind of going into 2025. So, here we are headed into the new year, and not necessarily the year in review, but kind of looking ahead. A couple things that we are excited about. Number one, we got a booster club that's kind of off and running. That's been a new group of volunteers and family members. Jess, maybe highlight that just a little bit.
Yeah, I think, going all the way back to what I said about this happens for 25 years because you have passionate people leading the mission. And so when we look ahead as to what 2025 is going to bring, it's that newness, it's the innovativeness of what's next. And for us, what's kind of next right now is something that started in 2024, which is the Booster Club. And being able to just see volunteers that are passionate about our mission that maybe never had a platform to share that before now get to inside of the Booster Club, which is really cool. And again, it brings that innovativeness. Fundraising, something we've always had, but being able to offer it now with more of a parent voice in mind, I think has just been a really encouraging thing to see.
Yeah, and the Booster Club has been able to support like the Adopt a Family program. Coming into this spring, they're bringing back the Extreme Scholar Athlete Award. That's an award that recognizes our students that have a 3.5 GPA or above. really just bringing out that full student athlete importance that we believe in. And then also, we have a plaque that we're kind of bringing back that celebrates the teams that have the most student athletes award winners on their team. And so it's just important for us as coaches to keep our athletes' priorities straight. And so having a booster club, having parents that value those other things besides just winning on the ball field is important. And same goes with our coaches. At the very end of the year here, we had a couple webinars with our coaches talking about the future of Extreme, and one of the things that we're launching is the advisory board. The youth baseball and softball advisory boards. Share on that just a little bit.
Yeah, the advisory board, another platform for people to step forward that really want to have a voice in this. And I think being able to really get down to that boots on the ground level of like, whose experience is this? And it's the athletes and it's the parents, it's the family's experience. So being able to sit down with them, have some roundtable discussions about what the future looks like and where we can keep growing, where we have already been excelling at, and putting all those things together for the future of our program. I think the advisory board is going to be something really special, and looking forward to seeing who those people are that step up, that want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think you're seeing, we're seeing a theme here, which is just, we want to provide platforms for just the leaders, the visionaries, I love the boots on the ground reference that you did there. Just, people that are in their communities talking about Extreme, talking about how it can be better, talking about how, what the value components are of the program, giving them places to share, lead, voice. It's important. We also are trying to connect more into the parents. We're doing a parent seminar. We're calling it the Network Training Parent Seminar here in January and February. And we've noticed since COVID, there's probably less parents watching, spectating, learning. There's a little bit more dropping off, which has kind of been a byproduct of COVID and of some of those rules that we had to live by a few years ago. We're trying to invite the families back into the process so that they understand the whys and what you get and what your athletes are receiving. Another event coming up in 2025 that just gives the voice to the families, to where they can understand what we're doing as trainers, but also be able to provide us some perspectives as well.
Yeah. Basically an e-club for parents. So being able to really share with them what we do, and we want them to be a part of the process. So if it is a drop-off situation, that's fine, but we still want them to know what we're doing at the end of the day, so they can be a part of it with their kid.
Yep. Well, that is kind of a year in review of 24, and then also a small little quick look ahead at 25. Heading into 25, I heard you say a few words: innovate, kind of newness. What are you looking forward to most as we head into 2025?
Yeah, I think innovativeness is a great word. I think it's just being able to see the people with the passion come to the forefront and provide that innovativeness is something exciting. I think newness comes from passion, from new visions, and being able to have a lot of discussions around what that looks like, and while also just having that staple mission that we have. So I think it's being able to continue to build on that. And if you did a podcast in year one, if you're talking about, we were going to end up having a podcast in year 25, I don't know if you would believe it, but really thinking about like, what does the next 25 years look like? And that starts, right now with 2025.
Yep. Well, that was our kind of celebration and closing of the books on 2024, which was the 25th year of Extreme Baseball and Softball Club. And quick little look ahead into 25, and Jess shared some great thoughts there on what our focus will be going forth, and it'll be exciting to get back to this podcast at the end of the year and kind of do a review and celebrate some of these new things that will be happening. So 25th year of Extreme was one for the books, and again, we shared on a post that was made out on all the social medias of Extreme Baseball and Softball Club that had a little picture and graphic on what all happened in 2024. So I'd encourage you to go out there and take a look at that and listen to this podcast while you look at that graphic. And we hope that you got a little sneak peek into the things that are important to us and what we value in our club. Thanks everybody for listening, and until the next episode, we will see you then.